In April 2014, over 200 girls were abducted from the government secondary school in Chibok, Borno State. The incident would spark what has been known as the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. Tonight on Moments with Mo, we spotlight an occurrence that has put Nigeria on the map for all the wrong reasons.
And joining us is Arit, who is a presenter and a producer for EL Reports. Arit, hi.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm great.
It's good to have someone else from the EbonyLife TV team on the couch with us to discuss about this very, very hard and I think also important issue that Nigeria is facing. So, I mean, we want to get a bit of your take on the issue because you do a lot of current news, but you do a lot of positive news. And unfortunately, this is something that I think we can all agree has been really hard for Nigeria to go through. So what's your take on the incident?
Well, I mean, there's no way around saying that the whole incident it's a ghastly thing to happen. You know, just the trauma, having young girls who were in school preparing for exams. I mean, one minute you're in school, the next minute you're in a truck heading to a forest. And there are a lot of questions, you know, their safety, their health, and so on. But maybe because the slant of my news is focusing on the positive, I'm very happy with the way Nigeria has seemingly suddenly woken up and realized we do have a responsibility to one another as a country.
Very true.
And just that whole campaign, I think, is the one good thing that has happened.
No,
I mean, I totally agree. But do you think that we have woken up as a result, or maybe, I don't know, not say media, like maybe the government has woken up to do with the fact that the international press stomped on this and it literally, now everybody knows about it. Do you think that has anything to do with that?
I think the fact that the government even woke up to it was again as a result of citizen participation, you know. I mean, girls had been kidnapped, boys had been killed, but for some reason this incident, it's like it woke everybody up. And just putting that pressure on and seeing it snowball into this international campaign, the government had to act. You know, there was no way around it.
I think you know, when I first heard about the girls being kidnapped, what was really frustrating was the lack of credible information out there. I think there was a lot of hazy news. People weren't sure how many girls were kidnapped. People weren't sure. There was even at one point where they said a few days later a certain amount of girls had escaped, but then you weren't really sure. And it felt as though there was a lot of patchwork going on. And then it felt as though there was a lot of politics being played, a lot of blaming. It's the governors of X, Y, and Z state instead of the federal government. And I just didn't feel like there was unison on part of the government to make sure that the girls were found. And I felt like they wasted way too much time trying to cover their, you know, instead of looking for the girls.
I mean, is there a case of, could anyone have acted fast enough? I know that was part of the issue. It was like, why is it that no one is doing anything and you're not taking this seriously? How can 200 and something human beings forget that I mean, it's just even more tragic that you're talking about young girls, you know? When people just suddenly vanish out of thin air and you find out they've been abducted, it is usual that you would think, okay, we need to do something.
We need to do this,
So why do things take so long before people act?
Then again, I don't think we've ever had to deal with the scope of this, you know. At the risk of sounding, I'm not going to sound insensitive, but you don't think of it as the same thing when 20 girls go missing but when over 200 girls disappear, it asks a lot of questions.
How
you know?
Also? You know, like, to the point, when I say how, like, I mean, I know it's very
ludicrous.
Vague. If you would notice or you would see 200 girls, 200 something girls disappearing.
With a state of emergency.
Exactly.
You know?
You know?
So there was that, and I think it just made us realize we probably never have planned systems for situations like this because you don't ever think they'll happen.
That's it. Our crew went to Chibok for a first-hand view of the situation. Let's start with a recap of what happened on April 14th. That's after the break.
Around that 11 o'clock in the night, that's 11 o'clock p.m. So I can see somebody is calling me. So I just pick my call. After I pick my call now, I can hear, he's telling me, bros, do you know what's happening? I say, what's happening? He say, no, these guys has entered town. I say, which people now? He say, it's Boko Haram. I say, so how do you know? He say, somebody called him that he saw the cars were entering Chibok. So by one village called Gaglam, around that Gaglam. So they were entering from that Gaglam to Chibok. So I shall prepare myself for. So I just wake my parents that, see what I had. I just received your call that Boko Haram are coming into Chibok. After that telling them, I should just enter my room, I can hear bullet, I can hear rocket launcher Wah, wah, wah. I could just hear bullet anyhow, rapid. So I could just hear people were running.
We are relaxing in the village. They just came, they begin to shoot the gun. We are in the village. They are shooting the gun. We hear them. Then we begin to run. They kill our people, many people. They go carry fire. They burn our village. Everything for the village, they burn it. Where we enter now, we don't know. So we just our neighbor. Now they carry us. See my leg now. They carry gun, shoot me for leg. This is my leg. And then shoot them.
I mean, it's very interesting to get a first-hand experience of what people are going through. But to me, I was just sitting there and I was looking at every single one of those people, whether it's the man, you know, who said his leg was shot.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how they're still in that environment. And I understand it's the fact that a lot of people don't have choices. But to me, I'm just like, it seems like such a place of sadness and just no hope, because I don't feel like the people, their community, their governments are actually working to help them.
You know, one of the things people say about Nigerians, which could be for good or for bad, is how adaptive we are. And you know, I think there's that mindset of this is home. You know, you can't take that concept of packing your life, your tradition, your ancestry and going somewhere else. And you know, the refugee situation is also very bad. We don't hear that much about it, but there's a very serious refugee situation in other states and over the border. So even when you're leaving, where are you going? Nobody really knows where to go, what to do. And I guess there's that thing of let's just hope for the best at some point. You know?
I think I can't imagine what they're going through, and you know, the citizens of Borno State or any other states that have been affected by this or the insurgents. I think what's really frustrating for them is the fact that they know that it can happen tomorrow. That is something that, you know, let's say something happens and it's over. Natural disaster, it's over. But tomorrow they can come back and they can inflict the same kind of destruction on you.
The guy saying, my friend called me and said they're on their way. Imagine living with that reality day after day. You're just waiting for, hoping somebody
it's not going to happen today.
You know?
I read in there was a specific newspaper that I read, and it was interviewing some of the family members of the young woman, of one of the girls who had been abducted. And the father was saying, you know, aside from the fact that we are worrying about whether or not our daughter is ever going to come back, we are also in fear. We are actually, that at night they would go into the bushes. They were hiding in the bushes to sleep because they were worried that Boko Haram was going to come back and they were going to take some more of their own daughters or attack them or whatever.
It's hard to imagine that as a reality. You know,
All right, so after the break, we're going to find out the nation's reaction to the abduction. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. The abduction of the girls led to an endless stream of protests. Let's take a look.
It is unfair that we have over 200 girls out there and they are suffering. We saw what happened in Bunyadi. We cried. Children were slaughtered in school. I don't know, tired of killing people.
For 14 long days, it was business as usual. Business as usual in the face of the future of a nation under attack.
What are we here for? We will be here, that will be sleeping here in this This is enough for us to cause revolution in this country. My niece daughter has been kidnapped for over 2 months. She's with them right now. And no who would save us? Who ask you like this? Please, are we in the nation? And there is something I know. The fate of these girls would be a test of our stability and humanity as a nation. What are we demanding?
Then came a clarion call for action from an unlikely source. Social media. Hashtag bring back our girls.
Empty beds, empty hearts. We are trying so hard not to fall apart. Heavy souls, where do we begin when the walls of our lives are just caving in? We come in peace, hand in hand, and we ask that you listen and try to understand this endless pain, oh, this pain.
We demand on the part of the government immediate release,
immediate rescue operation so that these girls can join their parents.
As the social media campaign gathered momentum, with local and international celebrities joining in, world media attention turned towards Chibok.
That's just very difficult to watch. I don't know. The thing I will say is, before I even talk about the protests, it's as much as people may say, you know, the downside of social media and all that kind of stuff, that is what is so amazing about being in the 21st century and 2014.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Because literally, I mean, that hashtag, I saw it everywhere. Everywhere. And the fact that, I mean, apart from over here in Nigeria, in different countries, people, just something as simple as holding up that sign saying, bring back our girls.
It's amazing how such few words could mean so much. That was what I thought was amazing. And whether, you know, a lot of people are like, well, people jumped on the bandwagon, it's cool. I'm like, it's not about whether or not it's cool. It's the fact that people are calling out for those girls. Their voices cannot be heard right now. And I thought it was amazing that I could tweet from here and somehow my message could be translated to millions of other people. And eventually it would allow international, different countries to send troops to assist us. That's powerful. I mean, to me, that's phenomenal.
You know, and there was some analysis on the campaign itself. And you know, in the first month, that hashtag was retweeted over 1 million times.
That's amazing.
I'm telling you, in countries around the world, women in Mexico, thousands of women in Mexico stood up in a stadium. You know, they all gathered together. So there was such an outpouring of support. And like you said, that's the positive thing about social media, that attention was asked for and gotten. That's a very big
I think
deal.
I will say, you know, I think it's very unfortunate that it took 2 weeks, it took so long, and it took our country and, you know, our government looking very silly for there to be a response from our own government. That is the part that I think I'm most disappointed in. And I hope, though, that I really hope it doesn't die out, because, you know, the girls are still missing and we haven't found them. But at the same time, I feel like we're talking about it less, and that's something that I am worried about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You did go to one of the protests, right?
Yeah, I went to two. I went to both of them. They were at Alausa in Lagos and Ikeja. And the first one was probably the first week when, you know, the protests were just really starting. And it was actually a bunch of us, other people from EbonyLifeTV. MA was there, Zainab was there, Lamide, and the crew, they were also there. And also some social media team, people from the EbonyLifeTV team. And it was really interesting because you could see so many different faces, people from different walks. I mean, even the video, you guys saw that. Like, you see the collection. There are people who are from different tribes. There are people who are from different, you know, occupations. There are people who are from different, you know, walks of life. It's not just one group. It's not just young people. And that's the same thing that I saw there. I would have wished that there were a few more people there, even though I understand it was a Monday. But it's something that I know the campaign has gone beyond just, you know, educated people. Just a quick story. I was getting my tire fixed at a vulcanizer. So I was just parked by the side of the road. And there were these two guys who, you know, probably not educated. I think they were homeless. They were just kind of standing on the side of the road laughing and making jokes. So they were kind of helping me figure out whether or not my tire would be fixed or not. And then the guys start saying, something, is that not that bring back our girls, that Chibok place. And I looked at them and I thought to myself, I'm like, I bet you these guys don't know how to read, you know. And the fact that they knew about it, I was like, yes, they were making fun of it in jest, or just saying, they were not like, bring back our girls. Or I was like, the campaign has gone beyond what it is that we know. It's widespread.
I mean, at the time, I think where you went to that protest, I was in the UK, and they were actually having a protest outside the Nigerian High Commission. And I just saw video footage and I was astounded. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
It's I think one of the best things about it is, for once, we are holding our government accountable we, for a change, are saying this is what we need and this is what we would like to happen. And I would like to see that start to happen across all spheres of government.
That's
really,
exactly.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this break.
Some of the girls managed to escape. How has life been for them since? Here's some of their comments.
When Boko Haram came to our school, they gathered us together and were chanting, Allah Akbar, we are the Boko Harams. They began arguing. While some suggested they kill us, others said they should take us away. They loaded some of us in a truck, while some of us, including myself, were dragged along on foot when the truck got full. We arrived at a small village where space was made for us on the truck and continued the journey into the night. The abductors didn't understand our language, so I told the girls to join me and jump off. But some of them were afraid. Some jumped with me off the truck and we hid among the shrubs. And since it was dark and dusty, the sect members didn't see us, and that was how we escaped. I escaped because I left to attend my sister's wedding. Some of the girls that we abducted also attended the wedding and went back to school. I was not taking the art course they were to take that fateful Monday because I am a science student. I planned to return on Monday evening to write my exams on Tuesday before the unfortunate incident occurred. This is how I escaped abduction.
I and some other vigilantes mounted motorbikes, and we began to follow the trail the girls left, using their shoes and head ties. And when we were so close to the point where we saw them, we stopped because of the heavy weapons the insurgents had in their possession.
When I heard that my sisters had been abducted, I ran barefoot from the village where my sister got married to Chibok. I am not happy because most of the girls that were abducted were like sisters and we always did things together.
In fact, I was traumatized and I was angry at the way these people were abducted. Why? Because when these people came in to abduct them or to catch up to take them away, the security were informed for almost 4 hours and nobody went there. That is one. Two, after they had abducted them, the security were also informed that this was what happened. No reinforcement was made for the rescue of these girls. Three, these girls and the abductors were in the community till 10 o'clock in the morning. Before they started moving with these girls, no security personnel was sent after them for any rescue. Number four, all of these girls that escaped, none was rescued by any security personnel. They escaped on their own.
You know what was interesting? I found very interesting was the elderly man who said, you know, him and some other vigilantes, they followed.
Yes. Close enough that they could actually
I know.
see them.
And I can't imagine how they feel because it's like what they want to save and rescue those girls, and they cannot because they said, you know, the insurgents had heavy weaponry.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, if this is a zone where, you know, it's under a state of emergency, why weren't there no security men to follow him? Things like that just don't make sense.
I mean, but didn't you hear what that woman said? She said once they were abducted, they told the security and nobody did anything. Even the girls, and she said the girls that did escape, they escaped on their own.
On their own, yes. Yeah. You know, it does raise questions about our security abilities and perhaps some gaps that we didn't know we had until very recently. In so many respects, it's showing that there are things we need to develop, there are things we need to fix. There are problems that we've been ignoring for years now. And I'm hoping, again, that this will cause a reappraisal of our security systems and things that need to be done.
Definitely. I just think it's such a shame that something like this has to happen before, you know, we decide that we need to actually step up on our security.
Yeah. You know, and again, you think about the girls, these young girls. I can't imagine the kind of desperate bravery it took.
That's the thing. You know that whole thing about, is it not fight or flight, is it?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And the fact that, because I don't know if I'm brave enough to just
jump off a truck.
Moving, and how fast is it moving?
And then you know that these men have guns. They could shoot at you. You don't know if when you jump you're going to break a leg or anything like that. And I think what some of the girls mentioned that they're sisters that you know, it's like your own sister is in the hands of danger. Yes, you're saying I'm fine, but you're not thinking that. You're thinking X, Y, and Z is not in a safe place.
Yes. And I'm also wondering if these girls are getting any counseling. You know, this post-traumatic stress syndrome to consider.
Very true,
I don't know if there's any work being done towards making sure that they're okay, they're dealing with the after effects of this.
And even with dealing with the after effects, the girls are still missing. So how are they processing that information?
Yes.
I mean, these are all things that we need to think about, and I think they're things that, you know, aside from saying the girls need to come back, we also need to think about what's going to happen when the girls do come back.
Yes.
How are they going to move on with their lives? How are they going to cope with the stress and the anger and the feelings of, I mean, I can't imagine what they're going through.
And why did it take so long as well?
The Borno State government is trying to find other schools that they will attend when they come back. So at least some action is being done, but I think we also need to make sure that we're focusing on the emotional after effects of the abduction.
Definitely. Very good point, Aaron. All right. Well, how do you sleep at night when your child is missing? The girls' family members tell us how they have fared. Take a look.
7 of my nieces were among the girls that were abducted, and we never see any of them up till now.
3 of my extended family, that is, they are my nieces, that are part of this abduction from Government Girls Secondary School, Chibok.
All of us who are standing here, we are the father to the girls. You see this weapon that we have, it's not because of fighting, just we hold it in our hand in order to escape away from those people. Even those when they came here, we are at the bush hiding ourselves.
All of us seated here have daughters among the abductees, and some of the mothers are not here. Sometimes we think they are in school, but then we remember they are not. We are continuously traumatized. We can't do anything for ourselves as a community because our daughters that help us in chores and farm work are no more.
2 of these people have died. Parents of these children have died. A lady died, a mother died last week, and on Sunday, a father died, just because of the frustration after seeing the video show that their children were not part of it.
I mean, in general, I think you could see a whole village that's broken. You could see parents that are traumatized, parents that, in many cases, I think, yes, you have all these media houses that are coming to cover your story, but you keep asking yourself, where are our daughters? And it seems as if they're hoping that, you know, they're going to come back, and I hope that they continue to have that hope.
I mean, I think there's nothing worse in the world than feeling completely helpless. And I think that's what I got from that. It's like a waiting game. You're waiting to see what is going to happen to your child. And to me, I cannot even fathom, and I would not wish that on my worst enemy. It's just awful.
We've had mothers on social media saying they look at their children and then you remember that there's a mother somewhere in Borno State who is looking, she's hoping, she's praying. I don't think many people have fully comprehended just how much this village has been affected, you know.
And even looking at that video, the members of the community, the way they were armed, look at what they're carrying compared to the people that they're facing. Who are, I mean, I don't even know the terminology for the weapons, but they are heavily armored, and they're just, it's really sad.
I mean, it's not an equal fight.
It's not an equal fight, but it also shows that they're deciding if no one's going to help us, we're going to help ourselves. I mean, like you said, look at what they're carrying. And when you hear rocket launchers, you hear armored tanks.
Exactly.
I mean, we've seen footage. You know, the insurgents, they like to show off their power, and we've seen them standing in front of their tanks and this. So it's not something that they're hiding. They're trying to show the world that they are heavily armed and they're coming for people.
Well, we'll be right back after this break.
How has it been in Chibok since the abduction of 200 girls in the middle of the night? Hear from the locals at Chibok.
This is the house of Honorable Dr. Shetima Ngladar that was born when the insurgent came and adopted some of our girls.
On Monday, that is 2 days back, a village between Damboa and Chibok was razed, was set on fire. In fact, it was razed down, Shower by name. Another village, Alagarno, between Askira and Chibok again was razed. Again, another village again, Bulakudiga by name, it was razed again. And just early this morning, Kuburvu again was razed.
When they come here, they will have a go-slow so that they can be able to run away. This way we are.
Because whenever they are coming with bike, they will run.
Some of them have
they are open
this place,
some of them have will run away. That's why we are closing all our villages. Because they have burned all the other villages. We are now gathering here. The remaining food, all the only beans and food stuff that we have, we are sharing for them now to eat. And now when we are here now, after this program, we are going out outside the bush to go hide. Because every time in the night, in the evening, at every time, they are coming here and disturb us and pursue us.
The vigilantes are playing a vital role in protection of the community they are. But what will they do with bow and arrow? Facing people that have RPGs, rocket launchers, AK-47s, and many other sophisticated machines. So we want to still plead that let these ones be assisted.
And you saw us with these guns, we ran away to the bush in order to hide ourselves away from them. Because we're not able to fight them, because they are more powerful.
Those of us who have been in this environment since this incident started in 2009, we know that this matter is beyond the capability of the Nigerian government. So it's a matter that the international community should handle. So we appeal to the Americans, the French government, and all those who have shown interest in this matter to please do something, because nothing is happening now.
It was interesting as that the woman with the headscarf, and she was talking about how XYN village, that the insurgents had visited this village and they had raided it and they had burnt it down. And you're listening to that and you're thinking, and I'm thinking to myself, so tomorrow they're going to do the same thing, but there's still no solution to how we can protect these people.
And it's just interesting to see how the vigilantes just seemed so hopeful when they were trying to put that barricade there, and they were there with their guns. And then one man now said in a different clip, I mean, it's great and everything, but how somebody has an AK-47, they have rocket launchers,
and you have
then they will just blow you sky high. And the other man said, since 2009, this has been happening, and he feels that it is beyond our government's capability to solve this problem. So therefore, this is why we're now looking to the US government, to France. Do you think that that is the case? Because, I mean, you say, let it not get out of hand, but it's kind of gotten out of hand.
Yes, definitely. It has. And, there's no shame in saying it that we don't have the skills necessary to deal with this. Before 9/11, America had never suspected that would happen.
Exactly.
But when it happened, there was the Department of Homeland Security set up and all that. And I think we can say, we're allowed to say, look, we don't know how to deal with this. You guys know how to deal. Come show us what we need to do. It's more proactive, and we can then work towards developing systems to make sure that we deal with it on our own henceforth.
Exactly. When this kind of thing is happening, there is no room for pride.
There's no room for pride.
It doesn't. And people's lives are being lost.
I think what people are very much concerned about is, that when international communities come into a country and they assist them with whatever problem they have. So, for example, in the case of Iraq, America came in, assisted them with their issues with terrorism and things. There's a deeper issue. They're going to come after your resources. And I think in general, I think America is not in a place where they are completely interested in taking on another country's problems after all the backlash that they got from going into Afghanistan and Iraq. But I do think that we need their intelligence, we need their support, guidance to be able to fight this issue.
But do you think that everyone else feels that way? Because I've spoken to a few people, and some people say this is completely political, and it's easy for people in different countries, for foreigners to look at us and say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. But the thing is, they can come here and they won't know what to do because it is our problem and we should be able to handle it. I've heard people actually say that. What do you guys think about that?
The fact that it's our problem doesn't mean that it hasn't happened to some extent in other countries. I mean, you're talking about Afghanistan, Iraq. These are places where these things have been happening. Libya, So the fact that it's happening here, and yes, it's somewhat local. Boko Haram has international ties. We do know that because they're so well funded.
Exactly.
And they've got such great resources. So even if all the international communities do is track down that funding and freeze it,
thank you.
It's something that we haven't been able to achieve.
It's very true. Very well said, Arit. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
What do Nigerians think about the government's response to the protests? Let's take a look.
We need the president to establish the authenticity of the abduction. Have girls been abducted? Yes or no? As well as why it took so long to act.
Please, I want to ask the government, if you are able president, please, will you subscribe to the negotiation that the captives are offering?
Why has the president not visited Chibok since the abduction, considering that it's his responsibility to commiserate with the families of Chibok community and Nigeria as a whole? Schools have been a soft target across this whole fight in insurgency, and continuously the insurgents have said that they would attack schools, and Chibok Secondary School was allowed to be attacked to a certain extent. So it's a question why it happened, it's a question what are we doing going forward to ensure that children go to school and the schools are safe. What specific plans does the president have to ensure full rehabilitation of the returned girls? The girls are yet to be rescued upon their return, their families, and the Chibok community as a whole.
And almost no answers.
You have to tell Mr. President that the answers we have received are inadequate.
Yeah.
It's interesting because with the protests that have been happening all over Nigeria, I think we've seen a mixed response from the government. For the protest that I went to, it was in Lagos. The first one, it was good. You know, we walked into the Lagos State government house, and unfortunately, Governor Fashola wasn't around, but the deputy governor came out and addressed us. You know, but I heard recently, it was a very strange occurrence because they've been doing a lot of protests in Abuja. They're ongoing. They're doing it almost every day, and it was the police, the FCT police minister, basically he came out and said that he was going to ban the protests from happening, that it was causing, you know, chaos and all these things. And at first when everyone heard that, everyone was like, what? That's absolutely ludicrous. But what was great was that the Inspector General came out and overturned that ruling and said that you cannot do that, you're infringing on people's rights. So that was good.
Again, one of the things I'm seeing as a bigger picture for Nigeria is citizens, again, realizing to what extent they have power in this country. You know, for the first time, we're saying to government officials who are saying you can't do this, we're saying not only can we, this is where in the Constitution it says that we can, and we're going to court to defend our rights to be able to do this. Those are things that we've never really done because, well, we've always been quite passive. But one of the things that is so good about this is we're testing out all these various aspects of our democracy that we've never really used. And we're finding out we can talk, we can raise attention, we can insist to be heard, we can keep at it until somebody gives us a response we're happy with.
I think that's really well said, and I think the key there is keep at it, because not only, I think you mentioned right at the beginning of the episode, sometimes I feel like an issue occurs and it was so passionate, and then 2 months later it's on to the next thing, you know? And for as long as it takes for us to bring our girls back, we need to keep at it.
Definitely. Something that, you know, I want us to explore a bit, and I want to get you guys' take on this. You know, people have said, well, why aren't they negotiating, you know, with the abductors? Do you think it's a case where they should negotiate with them? Should the government negotiate with them to get the girls back?
I think it would be dangerous negotiating, because what's the guarantee then that it won't happen again on a larger scale? You know, if we start this thing where Boko Haram kidnaps people, we negotiate, we pay some money, we're starting something that will spiral.
And what will they do next?
Out of control, you know. And as much as, yes, we do know that there are heartbroken families hoping and praying, look, do something, anything, and bring our children back. On, again, looking at the bigger picture in light of the national security situation, especially in the northern states, I don't think it's ideal.
I think I agree with you there. I think it's something that's very dicey and you have to be very, very careful. I think for me, it's really about the bigger picture in killing this issue of lack of security. I think it's something that, I mean, it's like putting a bandage to a bigger issue. Now, it's definitely not a bandage because over 200 girls are abducted and they're missing, and those girls need to come back home. But I think it's a case where hopefully the government needs to step up and needs to take the girls back. All right, thank you so much, Art, for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.